You look wonderful.
Good.
All of y'all do.
Amazing.
Thank you.
You look good,
In a
Garcelle.
festive
You look
spirit.
good.
Thank you.
You look so great. Okay, it's time for some girl chat, all right?
ready.
This is serious, okay? First up, mom of two, Chrissy Teigen, recently took to Twitter to start a dialogue about an issue she felt isn't talked about enough. Chrissy tweeted that it's time that we normalize formula feeding, saying, quote, normalizing breastfeeding is such a huge, wonderful thing, but I absolutely felt way more shame having to use formula because of the lack of milk from depression and whatnot. So Chrissy also mentioned the stress, the guilt, and the sadness many moms feel from not being able to do nature's most natural thing for their child. Now, Garcelle, as a mother, how do you feel about Chrissy's message?
I actually saw Chrissy's tweet and I not only retweeted, but I agreed with her. When I had my twins, we took a twin parenting class where this woman was like, you know, this is how you breastfeed. She did the football hold where you hold 2 footballs at a time and the kids are latching on.
Wow.
The thought of that scared me to death because 2 babies wanting to eat 24 hours, you know, they eat like every 15 minutes, every, you know, half hour, and it was really daunting and I couldn't believe it. So when I went into labor, the boys were premature because I was having preeclampsia symptoms. So they took the babies out early. And I had these women come into my room every day with pamphlets pushing breastfeeding, that it got to me so much that I had to tell my doctor to please stop them from coming in because they were shaming me. And, you know, Chrissy said a well-fed baby is the best fed baby. And I really believe that's true. I grew up where formula was the thing. I never saw women using breast pumps to store their milk. So to me, formula seemed like a natural thing. And I think we got to stop shaming moms. You know, it's hard to breastfeed. Not all women produce as much milk as the baby needs. And also, sometimes babies don't latch on and sometimes the breasts become cracked and it's really hard. So I feel like we have to stop shaming women on how they parent their children. I really do.
Just
so
stop the
I was
mom
like, yes,
shaming.
Chrissy Teigen, I hear you and I agree with you.
But I remember that Mama Mike, because we had 3 kids, I know my brother was best breastfed, Dennis, and then my little brother, Daniel, was not. And she had difficulty producing enough milk, like you said, which I'm so glad that you brought that up, Garcelle.
Yeah.
Just because something worked for you doesn't mean that it works for everybody else. You have to think about health conditions for mothers too. Not everybody's body is the same. So just to go and assume somebody's a bad parent or their skills are lesser than yours, you're not even factoring in the personal choices that this person has as far as options because of their body. So I think mom shaming, and Tamara really taught this about, you know, that this world out there that is a whole nother area of criticism that I would never know because I'm not a mom. But Garcelle, I'm sure you've faced, and especially when you were raising the boys and being in the public eye, that you're getting constantly criticized for the way that you raise your kids.
Constantly, especially with the breastfeeding. I mean, I really felt a lot of pressure at the hospital because I wasn't breastfeeding the boys, but that's all I would do because there was 2 of them. You know what I mean? It's not just one. So I know women can do it, but one of the stories when the boys were newborns, I woke up at 3:30 in the morning with one of them, fed, changed, put him to sleep. I went back to my room. I looked at the clock. It said 3:30 a.m. I fell asleep. I heard a cry. I woke up. I looked at the clock. It was 3:45. It was 15 minutes between the time I fell asleep and the other one cried. So I chose not to breastfeed, and you know, that way I could also get help. My sister came and stayed with us for 2 months so she could help, so that way other people could help me because I couldn't do it all.
It's like, let women have their own choices and be okay with those choices. You know, as long as the baby is taken care of, that's all I care. That's all I care about.
That's right.
The baby eating, fine. That's it.
Okay.
My sister, and let me tell you, the mom shaming can go both ways. My sister actually breastfed my niece Bo till she was more than 3 years old, and that got strange eyes. And obviously, we want to normalize that. You know, obviously, I think the most important thing is to know that you don't know every woman's entire story, and you don't know what she's tried. You don't know if she has tried her very best and she couldn't do that for her child. Now, obviously, we know And the studies have shown that like colostrum is like liquid gold and what it can do for a child's body, and how, yes, breastfeeding is a wonderful thing to do. We definitely never want to take away from that. But you never know if a woman didn't have the ability to do it. So to shame her when she genuinely tried and put an effort, that is just awful. Awful. And we have to consider that before we just go spewing that you just think, oh, she just didn't want to. You don't know her story.
Right.
It's just a fad. But I also want to say this. If you are breastfeeding and you know you're going to leave your baby, for like a week, like it was done to me 2 years ago, make sure you get that baby off that breast. Because I had to sit there and get the baby off the breast myself.
That's real.
And she left for a week.
No.
And I was like, yeah.
They go looking.
And I asked... They was looking, and the poor baby went hungry for a day because it wouldn't take the bottle. And I was like, baby, I ain't got nothing up. I know they big, but I ain't got nothing up in here. And it took her a day because she realized mama ain't around. Yeah, so make sure you wean that baby off.
Sometimes longer.
Exactly.
That's right.
So.
Well, I'm so glad Chrissy brought this to attention. I know that for myself, I pray, and that would be my hope, that one day when I have a baby that I would be able to breastfeed, because I do believe that it is an amazing thing, and it has so many great things for the baby, like for their immune system. I mean, if you just read up on it, the benefits of breastfeeding are incredible. So I'm glad she's speaking out about this both ways. Now, someone else who's been speaking out lately is actress Kristen Stewart. Kristen, who identifies as queer, is starring in Hulu's holiday film Happiest Season, about a same-sex couple who travel home for the holidays together. However, many people took issue with the fact that Kristen's co-star Mackenzie Davis identifies as straight in real life. And guys, they are saying that the role should have gone to an actress who is actually gay. Regarding the issue, Kristen actually said that while she would never want to step on somebody's opportunity, she believes it's a gray area when it comes to non-gay actors playing gay characters. And that if she held everyone to this letter of the law, that she would never be able to play a straight character again either. So ladies, where do you stand on this issue? What are your thoughts?
Oof, I'm really passionate about this because I think that the roles that we need to see more in Hollywood deserve to be played by the people who actually live the experiences. Because when you play a role, it's a platform that we have to learn and understand. And I don't want to ever hear in Hollywood that there's a shortage of talent. Let's never hear that, because
that's my point.
I mean, let's first start off with, if you are living the actual experience, that's already cuts half of the acting when you're actually coming from an emotional place of understanding. But of course you need the skill set and the set experience and all that. But at the same time, there are many people that I think that are qualified to take on a role because their acting ability is so profound that they can actually emulate and give us a beautiful eye into what that experience is like. And my favorite example is Zendaya in Euphoria. She is by far just absolutely compelling and beautiful in this role. But here's the part that she did that really needs to be recognized. She took ownership of understanding she took on a role where she has never had an experience with drugs in her life. But here she is playing a full-blown drug addict.
That's what acting is about.
Right,
That's
and
what
here's what I
acting is
love. I just
about.
want to take a moment.
Okay.
I want to take a moment to say this. She spoke on it, so instead of just kind of bypassing it like many actors have, where they're like, I don't know, I just got casted in this, so I'm just doing my job. She spoke on it and said, I'm very grateful, and hopefully I'll be in a space like these ladies where I can create things and make space for women who look like me and women who don't look like me. That's the ultimate goal, to make room, because for a lot of Black creatives, it's not a lack of talent, but a lack of opportunity. So she takes ownership of the fact that she knows she gets an opportunity here, but that, you know, this is something that is something she recognizes is not her actual experience.
I totally understand what you're saying. I feel like art is subjective. Art, you know, Kristen Stewart said she saw her friend in this role, and I feel like, you know, I don't have to be a crack addict in order to play a crack addict. And I feel like we are picking, everything is becoming a battle. You know, I feel like you hire an actor that you think will portray this character the best, right? Look at Brokeback Mountain, look at Holiday Heart, look at Moonlight. Those actors weren't necessarily gay. And I know what you're saying, that it's great to give someone the opportunity who actually embodies that spirit, that role.
Experience.
But I also think we're actors. We're supposed to step into another character's shoes and play that. So I feel like if it's a transgendered actor, then I think, yes, hire someone who's lived that. But I also feel like not everything has to be lived in real life in order for you to play it. That's my take on
I don't
it.
know.
So I
I
feel
think
like
Maybe not
the director
lived,
decides.
but a group of underrepresented people maybe should get the opportunity first. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, at
Opportunity.
least
I get what
make
you're
sure
saying.
that they're
Opportunity.
getting the opportunity because they're so underrepresented and they don't get those opportunities. So imagine you don't get these opportunities ever, and then it finally comes along and they give it to the person who's getting all the other opportunities. That I think is so important that they find a way to make sure that they've said, wow, we really opened this up to these underrepresented people and that they gave them the opportunity.
Agree to disagree all the time. Just feel like, I think it's the actors, I think it's the director's choice, but I get what you guys are saying. Let's talk about this, you guys. Up next, CBS News is reporting that Scotland will be the first country to make menstrual products free in public facilities nationwide. Schools, colleges, universities will also be required to make these products available in their restrooms. This is great because, rising poverty levels are making it difficult for women to afford these products. Sometimes they're having to choose between buying food or menstrual products. Imagine that. Ladies, how would you feel if feminine products were free worldwide? I think it would be amazing. I remember in middle school trying to find that quarter to get a tampon in for the tampon machine. And I think when you think about it, like the homeless, people who have no money, how are they able to do this? So I think it would be amazing. What do you guys think?
You're
Well, they say
absolutely
that
right
women
about
spend
that.
up to $7,000 a lifetime on feminine products. And I think we forget, see, this is something men don't have to deal with, so they never think about it. But, and we assume
So it's an
that
expense
every
that we
woman
only
can
have.
do that. Exactly. So I think it's something, especially, I'm like you, Garcelle. When I was in college, I used to have to go to, like Planned Parenthood to get my products because I was a struggling college student. So people don't realize this is an expense that comes every month and, you have to deal with it. So I think, it should be some type of supplemental program at least to help women that really need it because this is really, it's needed.
Yes, and not only, it's a deprivation to have feminine products accessible. To the point that in technology, people are now having to make women's panties and things like that that help to, take care of the menstrual flow because the access to these supplies are not readily available. I think across the globe, not just in Scotland, but especially America, we should have a better support when it comes to health and sanitization because we're talking about sanitary support as well.
And I also want to state, because period products are not covered by government grocery assistance programs such as WIP or SNAP. So it's not being covered. So we need to find a way to help these women out. So I just want to make sure.
So the
I
U.S.
love that
is
we're
supposed to
talking
be the
about
most
this.
progressive, yet we are so late to the party.
Right?
All the time.
But I'm glad that we're talking about this. We have to keep this up. I heard that Merriam-Webster and Dictionary.com just announced their 2020 word of the year, and the word is pandemic. We have all heard the word nonstop since March. It's dominated nearly every corner of the world. But ladies, I'm curious, if you had to choose a word to represent your 2020, what would you pick? Adrienne, let's start with you.
I would say family. And the reason for that is because although I've always been extremely close to my family, I never realized, I never thought about the fact that I haven't lived with my family since I was 15, 16 years old. And the idea that at 37, I now had my whole family in my home and that I've been living with my mother again, who I literally have not lived with since 15 years old. What a blessing that's been. So, I mean,
nice.
For me, I think it just puts so many things into perspective, just recognizing how valuable that is and how much I love my family.
That's a good one.
That's
I love that. And I love
beautiful.
seeing you with your
What
family.
about you,
Adrienne. It's a
Jeannie?
whole nother glow. I would say the word for 2020 for me is revealing. I think that
Wow.
I think all of us at 2019, we all were really excited for 2020. Like, this was the futuristic year. This was the year that was going to change everything. We were stepping into a whole new dimension. And it actually revealed to us a lot that we still have to work on. And even though the pandemic is a word and it did keep us in, it did not keep the entire world in from showing up and protesting against what was wrong and what was systemically messed up about our society. So it revealed the things that we absolutely need to work on. We'll continue to do so until things are right.
2020 vision.
Yeah.
2020
See
vision.
clearly.
I would have to say for me, navigating, you know, the world in my own way and trying to figure out, you know, sort of like being single. So my word would be vibrator.
Yes!
Well,
Y'all are
Go,
too
go
serious
on,
for me.
Listen,
That's my word for 2020, and I'm sticking to it.
well, as you
stick
say,
into it.
Stick to it.
Lonnie,
Hot.
with that
know
being
what
said,
mine
what's
is?
your word for 2020?
You know what mine would
Look at
be?
Lonnie. Lonnie, what is your word?
Savage, nasty.
Yes!
That was the hottest
Lonnie, can we
song of
get
the
a word?
summer.
We need your word. We need your word.
She said savage.
Savage.
She's too busy